Voting in the voice referendum closes in under 2 weeks. Pre-polling and postal voting are already underway, and the advertising campaigns are really starting to heat up as we enter the final stretch. Now, so far the polling has not been great for the Yes campaign, with the Yes campaign losing across almost all major polls. However, the Guardian Essential poll might provide a sliver of hope for the Yes campaign, with a slight increase in support. However, the news is not universally good, so let's explore that further, and if you've got any thoughts about it, well, let me know that in the comments below. So let's look at overall voting intentions and the trend thereof. Well, here there is some good news for the voice referendum and for the Yes camp, but not necessarily universally good news. Overall support has ticked up 2 percentage points to 43% from 41%. Conversely, support for the No campaign has gone down 2 percentage points to 49% from 51%. 8% of voters remain undecided. Now, the increase in support is probably encouraging for the Yes campaign. However, they're still going to need to win over almost all of the undecided voters, or potentially some of the soft No voters, which of course is going to be a challenging task. Now, to put that in perspective, the Guardian Essential poll also breaks out voting intention by the strength of that intention. That is, whether the voter is a hard no or a hard yes. And here it isn't great news for the Yes campaign. 42% of voters are still hard no voters. They are going to be incredibly difficult to persuade to vote yes. Only 7% are soft no voters. They might be easier to persuade, still a little bit difficult and more difficult than undecided voters, but easier than a hard no. The bad news, however, is that only 30% of voters are hard yes voters and 13% are soft yes. Now, the No campaign could easily persuade some of the soft yeses to agree with them. Conversely, the Yes campaign could convince some of the soft no's to agree with their side. That means that both sides have some people that they could win or some people that they could lose. So it isn't universally good news for the Yes campaign in that result. We can also break this up by state because for the voice referendum to succeed, it needs a majority of voters to support it in a majority of states. And here it is not good news for the Yes campaign. Now, while overall voting intentions looked like they were heading in the right direction, if we break it up by states, it isn't quite as clear-cut, because it appears a large portion of that support came from a tick up in support in Queensland, with support increasing from 30% to 40%, an absolutely phenomenal result. However, that's in Queensland, and it appears that the voice is lost in Queensland. It would appear to be incredibly difficult for the voice to succeed at this point, given what we know about voting intentions within Queensland. Conversely, support declined in New South Wales. Support in New South Wales went down to 42% from 47%. This is a problem, because New South Wales was in play for the voice referendum. It looked like the Yes camp had a good chance of winning New South Wales, and zero chance of winning Queensland. However, in the latest polling, it still looks like they have zero chance of winning Queensland, but now less chance of winning New South Wales. So this actually makes it more difficult to win that double majority. Support in Victoria remains unchanged at 45%, Victoria being one of the more likely states to vote yes in the voice referendum. The Guardian Essential poll doesn't report polling by other states due to the sample size. We can also look at the strength of the voting intention in those states, and again, it isn't brilliant news. In Queensland, 47% of voters are hard no voters. Only 31% of voters are hard yes voters. 9% are soft no's, and 8% are soft yeses. This means that both sides have a portion of the population that they can convince, and it isn't clear-cut that the Yes campaign is going to do a better job than the No campaign at this point. Similarly, in New South Wales, 44% of voters are hard no's, and 29% are hard yeses. This suggests that in New South Wales, it could also be challenging for the Yes campaign to succeed, especially if it is in fact the case that support had been declining. Victoria, however, is a bright spot for the Yes campaign, with more hard yeses than there are hard no's. And in the case it does suggest it might be difficult for the Yes campaign to get that double majority that it requires. We can also look at the support, or lack thereof, by demographics. So for example, across gender, it seems to be relatively evenly split. 43% of women intend to vote yes, 42% of men intend to vote yes. There's been a slight uptick in support amongst men, a downtick in support amongst women. It appears there is a convergence. The rate of hard no and hard yes voters is a little bit different, however, across genders. For example, 44% of men are hard no's, and only 39% of women are hard no's. Conversely, only 29% of men are hard yeses, 31% of women are hard yeses, suggesting that perhaps there's a little bit more support generally amongst women for the voice. However, again, it is converging. If we look at it across age, well, the only age group that appears to support the voice is younger voters. 66% of 18 to 34-year-olds say they are going to vote yes. However, support quickly drops off. If we look at 35 to 50-year-olds, well, only 43% intend to vote yes, and only 25% of people over 55 intend to vote yes. And again, the voting intentions are relatively strong in that older age group, again suggesting that the voice referendum is losing across most age groups, and they're only capturing one demographic, being younger voters. Furthermore, it's important to note that the Guardian Essential poll differs quite a bit from the Redbridge poll. Both Guardian Essential and Redbridge appear to be left-leaning polls. However, according to Redbridge, only 55% of the younger voters intend to vote yes, suggesting that support isn't necessarily as high as Guardian Essential are suggesting. Perhaps the truth is somewhere in the middle. And in the case it isn't clear-cut that all younger voters are in fact going to vote yes, and many in fact are not. The Yes campaign therefore appears to have its work cut out for it in convincing voters. And this then leads me to the main reasons for voting no at the referendum, at least according to the polling. According to the polling, 42% of people who are either unsure or intend to vote no at the referendum say that it's because the referendum would divide Australia, and that the text would divide Australians on the basis of race. Similarly, 14% of respondents say that it would be giving Indigenous Australians additional rights and privileges that other Australians do not have. Now, notably here, the Guardian Essential poll lumps together unsure and no voters in this question. That is, they're asking both categories. I suspect that no voters are even more strident in their opinions about the voice. Now, it is going to be difficult to dissuade voters of that, because the voice does in fact appear to be inherently discriminatory. For example, it is giving access and funding to one category of Australians, but not to another category of Australians. That is very clear from the plain text. After all, the executive government, i.e. the administrators, the government agencies, the RBA and the like, would be bound to consider the representations from the Indigenous voice. They would also similarly be bound to consult the Indigenous voice before making decisions, as made clear by the federal court in the recent Woodside case. And therefore, it would give additional access, additional power, and additional say to one category of Australians. Now, it is a normative decision as to whether you think that is good, bad, or otherwise. However, that's what the plain text appears to do, and therefore convincing the people that believe that it is bad to have this discrimination and that the voice is inherently discriminatory is going to be an uphill battle. Furthermore, 26% of respondents said that there is not enough detail on how the voice will work. Again, it will be difficult to convince those respondents, because at this stage it doesn't appear the government is going to provide any more detail. It doesn't appear the government is going to provide detail on funding, or how the people on the voice are going to be decided, whether they will be elected, whether they will be appointed, or any of those details about the inner workings. And therefore that 26% is likely to remain unconvinced. And therefore the Yes campaign is going to have a challenging task actually getting across the line if it really needs to address those concerns. An interesting issue is how much people actually know about the voice. Now, 49% of respondents say that they know enough to be informed to be able to make a decision. However, still 29% of people say that they don't know enough and they don't feel adequately informed. 22% of people are unsure. This is actually a little bit interesting, because in that 29% of people, we probably have two categories of people. We have the people who simply haven't turned their mind to the voice referendum and therefore are uninformed for that reason. And you have the people who are saying they aren't given enough details and therefore are really likely to be no voters. And therefore it will be difficult for the Yes campaign to gather all of those no voters with an informational campaign, because they simply won't be able to provide the details that the people had been asking for. And therefore at this stage, it doesn't appear an information blitz will necessarily help the Yes campaign. However, certainly advertising will potentially shift the needle. Based on this polling, it doesn't appear that the voice referendum will succeed. And this also comes out in the polling. According to the polling, 49% of people believe that the voice referendum will fail. Only 26% believe that it will succeed. 25% are unsure. Now that might actually count in the Yes campaign's favour. After all, if people are uninformed and they might otherwise have voted no, they might symbolically vote yes just on the vibe. They might vote yes because they feel like it's kind of warm and fuzzy and positive to do without fully informing themselves. And therefore this might help out the Yes campaign with getting some of those undecided or uninformed voters. I.e., if the voter doesn't think the vote is actually going to count, then they are more likely to vote in a particular way in a relatively complacent manner. However, again, that remains to be seen. It could potentially cut the other way as well. For example, it could potentially result in a pile-on if no campaigners really feel like they're going to win and want to win big. It remains to be seen exactly what happens on polling day. In any case, that's a bit of a summary about the latest Guardian Essential poll and about the slight uptick in support for the voice referendum. If you've got any thoughts about it, well, let me know that in the comments below. And otherwise, thanks a lot for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I see you next time as well.